Hi, my name is Jess Casinelli. I'm a singer-songwriter originally from Connecticut. I've been based in LA for about 8 years now. Um, and yeah.
What brought you out to LA?
So I moved out at 18 straight from high school. I came to Pasadena for there's a music college there, very small. It's called Los Angeles College of Music. And I originally applied and got in for music production, and I did terribly at that. So I was in music production for about a year, and I switched over to songwriting, and that's what I graduated in. Um, yeah, I've always been more of a songwriter. I think it was cool to get a different perspective by going with production. It was really, really fun. I think I needed to focus more as like my first year of college. I was just excited to be in LA. So having something that wasn't as natural, it didn't come as naturally to me, is pretty difficult. But yeah, the switch to songwriting was super helpful for me.
I understand that. There's an amazing nonprofit called She is, well, this isn't the name of I think the nonprofit is called Fem House, but they run a program called She is the Producer, and it's a free course on production. And I was like, oh, I want to know more about every facet of the music industry, so I'll sign up for this course. Oh boy, was it over my head. I was so lost. Production is not for me, so I can relate and understand. What made you sign up to do production then initially?
Um, it was actually an accident. Super embarrassing. I didn't want to go to college at first. I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm moving to California to be a songwriter. And they're like, you need a plan, you need something. So I was like, I was very set on like not going to college, but my parents kind of gave me no choice. So like, you're not just moving out without going to college. So I just applied to a bunch of random things. I'm like, this looks cool. Like very nonchalant, did not put effort, really didn't care, which was probably bad on my part, but senior year was rough for me. So yeah, when I originally was looking at this school, they actually didn't have a songwriting program. They had like songwriting classes that were in the music production program. So I thought like it was like a sub program of music production. I didn't even know. I didn't read. I didn't know. I just like applied, and I got in for music production, arrived and was like, hey, I'm here to be a songwriter. And they're like, no, you're not. You're signed up for music production. I was the only girl in music production. It was me and a bunch of guys. So that was actually pretty cool, was like I mean, I guess I kind of failed my fellow females, but I think it would have been really cool if I was successful at it to be a female producer in a male dominated industry. That would have been dope. I guess for the time that it was pretty, very, very cool and eye opening. And then I ended up meeting like some of my best friends and people that it ended up working out like beautifully. um, yeah.
I always kind of describe that as worst best luck when something really goes wrong and you're like, oh my goodness, like why did this happen? But then from it comes something so good that could have only happened from that thing going super wrong.
Yeah, it's funny because I genuinely like not even trying to promote my new song, but like I very much feel that like I'm like, no, I don't like the saying like everything happens for a reason. That I don't stand by that, but I think some things maybe do sometimes, or like you can find good in them even if it wasn't like a set plan.
Yeah, I agree with that because I definitely am with you on the it's not and everything happens for a reason because I think there's plenty of shit out there that just doesn't happen for a good reason and it just sucks. But there
Yeah.
are those moments where from something shitty comes something good.
Hmm. Absolutely.
In other interviews, you've mentioned that you come from a musical family, but you said that learning instruments was a bit more difficult for you, and so you turned more to songwriting initially. Can you tell us a bit more about your early songwriting experiences?
Yeah. I I always say like songwriting for me is kind of it was kind of like the childhood dream I just never gave up on because I I even remember writing from before I even knew how to write. Like I remember I would just make up songs and just keep singing them over and over again so I'd remember them and then the next day I would add on to them and like I think I didn't even realize that I was songwriting. I just thought everybody did that. And I'm sure kids do and did, but I think for me, when I started learning how to write, like in kindergarten and first grade, that was really cool for me because I was able to write down the lyrics without having to memorize them. And then I guess it was just like melody, learning how to memorize the melody over with the lyrics and learning how to kind of accent which it's really, really cool seeing my writing from when I was a kid because I would accent certain words to keep up with the melody because I didn't have like voice memos or anything to record back then. But yeah, I very much was always very, very focused on lyrics. Um, and yeah, I think when I was about 16, I learned on and off instruments growing up. Like my dad would try and teach me or have one of his friends teach me, and I loved it. It was really for me. I was like, okay, well, I'm bored now. I wanna write. You know, like it was. I didn't want to take the time to learn, I guess. So when I was 16, I decided to teach myself. I just kind of randomly got inspired and was like, okay, well, I actually really like whatever. I kind of came back to songwriting. I think there was a few years where I just wasn't writing that much. And then I came back to it and was like, I want this to be an actual song. And to be an actual song, I want it to have instruments and I want to put that, like, I want that part too. um, it's kind of just all different pieces of the puzzle. And I was like, I want this puzzle to be mine. So I did. I just taught myself. I got a bunch of different mini sticky notes, very, very like color oriented. And I memorized the chords by putting I would do each note as each note within a chord was the same color. So then I would know which sticky notes to push on. It was very, very like minuscule and childlike, I guess, still. And then yeah, that's how I taught myself piano.
It's interesting the ways in which uh we like, you know, talking again about teaching yourself versus like formalized learning of something. It's interesting the ways in which learning something in a more formal setting can fail so badly just like in a skill that you are absolutely capable of because we all do learn things so differently. And so, you know, you mentioned being the color helping you. And, you know, I've never heard of anyone learning that way. And so it's not surprising that like trying to learn in a more like conventionally set standard wouldn't have worked in terms of like just the ways that different people's brain are able to process the information.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's very true. I mean, uh yeah, it's like I feel like that even in school and growing up and stuff, I just learned differently. But I think also it's like the motivation, you know, like I had the opportunity to learn for a while and I didn't I was like, I don't want to, you know, like and then when I wanted to, I was like, oh, I got this. Like I could do it. Like I guess interest is a huge part of learning as well.
Yeah, and you can't force interest or motivation in something.
It's true, very true.
So how do you think your process in writing songs has changed since then?
Well, I definitely think more about the instrumentation now. Still not as much as I feel like I should. But I think the thing that really remained since I was a child is like lyrical importance and just really trying to create exactly what I'm meaning to. You know, I want it put out into the world the way that it feels in my brain. I think it's really, really tricky, but it's my favorite part and it's my favorite thing once I get it. That's when I feel most accomplished, I guess. But I actually, I think the difference would be now I have like proper structures to my songs. When I first started writing or growing up, it was kind of just all over the place.
That makes sense in terms of, again, you know, as you learn more, things start to get more formalized. Have you ever done any sort of like co-writing with someone else? If the instrumental part you said is still, obviously you were saying you want it to be yours, but since if that's still like one of your less preferred parts, have you ever tried co-writing with someone?
Yeah, I was co-writing a lot in college. We kind of had we had classes that were mandatory. We had to co-write together. I honestly I probably should get out of my shell, but my favorite thing is to write just like right here, just like by myself. And like I said, color oriented. I'll just like change the lights depending on whatever the song feels to me in the moment and kind of just really dive into that. Um, I think what recently I've learned is maybe writing by myself and then bringing the song to somebody who's more instrumentally talented or uh, versed. I have like a really incredible guitarist friend. Her name is Beecha. Shout out to Beecha. She kind of helped me rewrite some of the chords to one of the new songs I'm working on, and it became like my favorite song of the new batch because of the way that she changed the chords and stuff. So I think maybe that might be a process that works for me. My producer Javi, he also has done that in the past, and it I think elevates the song in a way that I probably could, but again, it's not what I focus on mainly. So it just it's a part of the puzzle that I'm willing to have a crutch for, I guess.
That makes sense. Do you have a favorite song you've written?
My dad always says, he's like, songwriters' favorite songs are always the most recent one they wrote. It's like every time they write a song, it's like the best song they've ever written. I think that's pretty funny because that's definitely like some of my new ones. I'm always like, this is my favorite song. But I think also it's about getting better and progressing. I definitely have one that I think is probably my most important song. And it's like, I don't even know if I'll ever release it. It's called Little Me, but I wrote that in 2017 or 18. And it's still probably I guess my favorite song just because it's my most important one for me personally.
Yeah, I definitely think I've heard your dad's sentiment echoed from people, but I also will say that one of the last artists we did an interview with, her favorite song that she's ever written is also one that she has no plans to ever release. Because sometimes, if something is so deeply personal, it's hard to release that one into the world in terms of like how it will be received, but also like letting go of that and putting it out there.
Yeah, sometimes it's really just maybe you wrote it just for yourself. It's not for anyone else, and that's cool. That's fine.
Yeah, that's I think one of the great things about music is it lets you get things out and like you said, sometimes it's not for everyone else. So you've also mentioned that you'd be interested in writing for film and TV. If you could have one of your songs featured in any movie or TV show, what would it be and why?
I guess maybe Bridgerton because I just absolutely love the soundtrack of Bridgerton. I think Bridgerton would be the way to go for me. That would be awesome. That would be really, really cool.
So what are some of your other goals as an artist?
I guess I always say this, and it's less of a goal and more of a motivation for myself. I just always want to be better at instruments and instrumentation. And I think the biggest goal would be to just get everything out there and actually, keep up a momentum. I think it's a lot of like rising and falling, which is fine and I think pretty normal. But I think a sense of consistency would be really cool.
Jumping back more to the instrumental side of things, which instruments do you play?
So I play piano and like very lightly guitar. I can accompany my vocals and not it's not anything special, but yeah, piano and guitar.
Are you the one playing the instruments on most of your songs, or are you getting studio musicians for that?
I have I think what college brought me was an insane community, a really great community of insanely talented musician friends. So it's like everyone in LA, almost everyone that I'm friends with out here, it's just super, super talented and really good at what they do. And we all kind of just help each other out and jump on things. So I have, a bunch of friends that help record with that.
That's one of the really awesome things about being in an area with a highly creative community is that you don't have to worry about finding, like, if there's something you need, there is someone who does it and who will almost definitely be willing to help you out.
Yeah, like I write everything pretty much myself. I think the collaborative part of my project is the instrumentation.
For performing live, what is your typical setup? How do you handle that?
I usually will bring my keyboard and I'll play piano for a few songs, and I have one of my friends, like I think I mentioned her earlier, Bicha. She plays guitar, and then I have a bassist and a drummer. Um, yeah, my drummer is my roommate and one of my first friends from college. I started in music production with him, and he's been my drummer pretty much this whole time for like 8 years, I guess.
So switching topics kind of completely away from instruments, with regards to your branding, your latest singles, Leave Like That and Dog Shit, you had some really neat imagery accompanying them. For Leave Like That specifically, I really liked the balloons and the spilled glasses and some of the consistency you had with color palettes across like the kind of like teasers and photographs and stuff like that. For some artists, these visual branding aspects are as important to their identity as the music itself. How important would you say those elements are to you?
I think they're pretty important for me specifically. As I mentioned earlier, I'm super color oriented, and I really feel songs as colors. And I think being able to visualize that and work with photographers and videographers that also get that it's super, super satisfying. As a creative, I feel like you have a bunch of different parts of creativity that you access, and you don't always have the tools to bring them out. So it's really cool when you do, if that makes sense. So I think for me, I really focus on colors and textures and shapes. And I think it helps move the song further into how I want to present it to the world.
So with that, do you have music videos? I don't think I remember seeing any full-length music videos or anything like that.
I have a couple, they're very DIY. There were a couple covers that I started my project with, and I did a music video for that. And then I did a music video for an older song called Homesick. Again, very DIY, but Homesick had a lot of old home videos that I retrieved from back home in Connecticut and put them on into a music video. Yeah.
Do you have plans for more music videos, more like highly produced ones in terms of getting those aspects of color since they are so important to the way you think about the songs?
I've actually been really thinking about that. I think one of the new songs off the EP, the one that I got help writing the chords for, that I feel like is probably my favorite off the EP. I think I want that one to have a music video. I've been thinking about it lately, but nothing's set in stone yet.
Thank you for sitting down with us. Can you let our listeners know where they can find you and if you have any shows coming up?
My socials are all my name, which is kind of hard to spell because I'm Italian, but it's at Jess Casinelli, and Casinelli has one S and two L's and an I at the end, Casinelli. Yeah, so it's just at Jess Casinelli. It's my Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff, Twitter.